So now we're in the Festival Theatre, but we're in the wardrobe area where lots of exciting things are starting to happen on shows like Shrew and Romeo and Juliet, and also in Music Man. And here is Joanna Billings, and Joanna's a cutter with the festival, and she's about to begin work on Music Man.
That's right.
Okay, now here we have a drawing from Marion the Librarian, and it's obviously a period piece. So when you're given something like this, how important is historical accuracy, or does that vary from show to show?
It depends entirely on what the designer is asking for. Patrick is being historically accurate here. And so from the research, actually often you can find exactly the details that the designer is looking for, because the designer has already looked at the research before he does the sketches. Patrick particularly has an excellent collection of old magazines, for instance.
I
There's
see.
one he brought us. It's from 1912, and so this is something that someone ordered in the mail.
The Taming of the Shrew, which is directed by Peter Hinton and is designed by Santa Laquasto, has a phenomenal cast. It's got Evan Bueling, who's come back to the festival and is going to be playing Petruchio, and he was just recently in We Will Rock You, but was also in The Lord of the Rings, and it was many seasons at Shaw. And Irene Poole, who is a phenomenal actress and won many awards for her acting in Toronto and across Canada, is going to be joining us and playing Kate. But in addition, we have Lucy Peacock, who's in the Shrew, and also Stephen Ouimet. And so all around, it's a phenomenal company, and they get to wear some pretty fantastic stuff. Let me show you. The Taming of the Shrew is set in the Elizabethan period, and that makes for some very, very intricate costume designs. I'm here with Kim Crossley, who is a cutter, and she's going to show us some of the different things that she's working on in terms of Santa Laquasto's designs. Now this is a mock-up, it's not the real thing.
Right. We do it in the mock-up first of all to determine the size of the pieces in relation to the actor's body, because some of them can be quite large. Some of our actors are padded to be bigger than they are, like this character here. And he has a particularly long style of trunk hose, which is the historical name for this type of
Trunk
breeches.
hose.
Trunk hose, they're called.
And what is that that he's wearing, the black?
Oh, that's a cod
We
piece.
won't talk too much about that. Now, this shape right here, that's extraordinary.
That is an extraordinary shape. It's a historically referenced shape from the period of James I, which was right after Elizabeth. And one of our historical references actually calls them the abominable breeches for their shape. And the reason that James I liked this style and this particular padding was that he was always afraid of assassination and someone coming up and stabbing him, so all his clothes were padded. Now, traditionally they would have been had quite a heavy padding inside them, or they would have been held out. Sometimes in the past we've held these out by doing a series of ruffles, so it's almost like a dancer's tutu inside. But we've begun to experiment with other kinds of fabrics, and this is a form of foam rubber that's actually used in filters.
Oh, of course it is.
And it's called open cell foam. It's a polyester foam rather than a foam rubber like upholstery foam, because this being an open cell foam isn't as hot as if you were wearing a foam rubber suit over, which
So that's a
people have done in the
festival
past, too.
innovation, using foam from filters in order to make these breeches. And now for something completely different from the Shrew. I'm standing beside some clothing that is worn in cabaret, and I'm here with the assistant designer, a terrific designer herself, Catherine Lubienski, who's working with David Beckler, who is designing cabaret.
Actually, these pieces that are here are authentic. We bought them in New York when we were doing our fabric buying trip.
Oh, these are real?
These are actually real. We found a fantastic vintage market, and these are actual pieces. They come from France. They're satin cotton, and this is the type of undergarments that would be worn at that period. Bruce Dow is this section here, and the way that the show is working, he's a little more theatrical than the other people. He's wearing sort of stylized frock coat at this point in comparison to the ensemble, which are a little more of a period look. But as he sort of progresses throughout the show, he starts to reveal his real self. And actually at the end of the show, if you can see that drawing, he's a little more into the period undergarments. So he's a bit more fantastical, whereas the ensemble which are some of the gentlemen here are wearing period style pants. And the women, of course, are in different types of lingeries and kimonos that were for that time, for the 30s.
Well, as they say, the shoes make the man. And here at the festival, we often make our own shoes. It's circular. I want to introduce you to a person who's been making shoes for the festival for almost 20 years. Mark, thank you very much for taking the time to do this. Now, you've made a very special pair of shoes here for the Taming of the Shrew, which of course is in the Elizabethan period. But how would you begin to, making a set of shoes is hard enough. How do you make them in period?
Well, I get the sketch from the designer. I take the measurements from the actor, find a last that's very similar shaped. In this case, this is actually a cowboy boot last.
I see, and this would be for Woman.
Yes, it's Baptista. So what I've done is I've taken and changed the shape using a hot glue gun and melted glue onto the last, and then took a knife and cut that shape into it. And as you can see here, this is a mock-up.
Then you took the leather and then spread it over that new mock-up, that new shape, and then obviously you nailed it and stretched it.
I soaked the leather in water so it would be more pliable, and then let it dry out on the last, and then it takes the shape. The actual shoe will have a more refined shape. It's just because it'll be thinner leather. It'll probably be this and this combined. And then I actually used a cowboy boot heel.
Oh.
And I'll shape it a little differently, but it's pretty close to what the sketch looks like, as you can see.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And if it fits the actor well, then I'll go ahead and make it out of the finished product.
Hi, I'm in the Festival Theatre, and I'm in arguably one of the greatest places to work in the whole of the festival, and that is our prop shop. Because here, all sorts of different skills come into play, from being a sculptor, to working with fabrics, to being able to work with metal. All of those skills are needed for our craftspeople to be able to put on the shows. And right now, we're building a number of different productions here. Frank Holt is the head of our props area, and he's been doing this for many years. We're very fortunate to have him. Notice here that we've got the Shrew wagon wheels that seem to be hanging throughout the set. Can you tell us how you're building those? You weren't able to find them, obviously.
Well, we could find them, but they'd be too heavy.
I see.
Right now we're trying to keep these light, so we made them out of a steel core with a styrofoam layer over the top. They're wired up because they're actually chandeliers.
The foam is sort of being applied to it, so even though it's steel, it's lighter than what wood would be.
Yeah, there's 30 pounds altogether when it's finished, and wood would be like 230 pounds.
So what happens to them once you've done that to them?
We put the spokes on, wire them. In order to keep this in one piece and exactly the way the designer wanted it, what we've done is we've run all the cable in, the wires through on the steel, and then put the foam over the top, so it's hidden.
I see.
Because in Elizabethan days, obviously the lanterns that are hanging from here were candle, but we need to be able to dim them up and dim them down. So we have a vast quantity of wires going through this. So you can see now we've got these big lanterns on here, and the importance of the wiring, which will be hidden down in this chain.
Now, Frank, these lanterns look really old. Where did you find them?
Oh, actually, Brian made them. They're brand spanking new.
They're brand new?
Brand new, but Jennifer has made it look all with this rusty thing that she's invented. Actually, inside here, there's two different kinds of lights. There's one bright one that will be used during most of the show, and then in the top here, there's two black lights.
Oh, I see.
So it will go down, the seat will go down, and the black lights will come up.
Sounds very beautiful, very romantic.
Oh, it is beautiful.
Wow, Frank, this is a great piece. Where does it go?
It's a cabaret shot. It's right at the very top in the press. As you know, it's in an old station that's been blown apart and been old. The clock is at the front, and at one point in the show, the hands whip around until they show midnight, and then one of the characters shoots it. And we'll have a piece pre-cut here, so when he fires the pistol, it'll blow that piece out and reveal all of the parts.
The workings.
Cogs, yeah.
We're giving away the show here.
Oh, yeah, but that's the way to, you got to see these things, don't you? We don't want you to miss that.